What's up, gamers? Barnes here. This is a response to lethality, continuity, and character death. And I feel that I've been on every side of this issue uh, in my game master experience. Uh, I feel that this is pretty much a conversation still about uh, story versus rules, and I think a lot of this has to do with the game you're playing and the type of style that you're playing in that game. Um, for myself, I you know, I've watched all your videos or whatever, and there's points of view with each of your videos that I agree with, and I definitely think that this is a fine line that you have to walk as GM. I don't think it's something that you should just kind of say, well, you know, let's just see if he dies at the roll of this dice. You always, like, as a GM, like, when those characters are like in danger of dying. So you, as a GM, should consider the counters that you present in front of them, at which times, you know, you you're going to present a challenge that could kill them. You should think about it before before you present that challenge. Um, and like I've said, I think I've been on every side of this. I agree with Chris at times where like you want to see like Luke Skywalker blow up the Death Star. You don't want to see him get shot down. And I agree with Brady where like it has to be like the game has to be lethal. Uh, you know, uh, it just has to be. Otherwise, like the party's gonna be rushing in and expecting to win every battle, and they're not gonna back down, and they're gonna fight to the death, thinking that just every fight is just XP's, or gear or loot or whatever. And so I think that uh, lethality has to be part of the game. And there's a lot of different ways to illustrate that throughout different games, um, besides character death, and I'm sure a lot of you guys know that. But for me, like how I tend to run it is depending on the game I'm playing. Games that I've written, I tend to be a little more lenient, um, and uh, want to see the characters like get to the next level, and so I present the challenges that uh, when they're booned up or whatever, and that's when they fight them or whatever. At other times, I've like currently now we're playing Rise of the Rune Lords, which is published by Pazio Press. Pazio, I'm not sure how it's pronounced. Um, and I'm running it raw, and characters are dying left and right, and it's a much different style of play. Now, I don't have as much time invested in the game. I mean, I've read it, and I've done some adjusticating. I've written the author actually to like see what he would do about specific derailments that I was facing coming into it. And actually, I'm hoping that uh, Richard Pett, thanks man if you're even watching, but I appreciate you responding to me, and hopefully that will make it into the rewrite of the adventure path. That'd be cool when it's re-released for Pathfinder. Um, but I think that this is a very fine line that has to be presented, and you have to have lethality, but yet the story has to continue. Now, there's a lot of different ways to handle that. So in one campaign in particular, I had mentioned this to the gentleman. I don't know, maybe some of you read it, but in the comments, I said that one campaign I had used the spirit world, and the characters, when they die, they would go in the spirit world and they would play in the spirit world. And they were in a different plane that was parallel to this one, and they could interact at times if they had those feats or skills, um, which one particular character did. Um, and we'll get into that campaign another time. I'm going to do a series about that campaign called the Aliquin, and it's actually the remnants of the maps back there. I figure I'd get you used to them because there's a shitload of them, but those are some I found lying around. Um, and with that system, the character would continue to play I don't know if any of you owned Ghost Walk. It was produced for Dungeons and Dragons 3rd edition, and it was a great supplement for the game. It's basically a campaign setting, but I brewed it into my own, and that made it much more difficult to kill characters because now you would have to go basically ethereal or into the spirit world and kill them as well before they were truly dead. Um, you know, I don't always make like a cleric available if a character dies or whatever, but it has happened. I have had made ways for a character to come back if he had died, and I try to not make that look obvious or anything like that. Again, like I said, like if you know your game ahead of time, if you've done your homework as a GM, you know when you're going to have an encounter that's dangerous, and you could present something ahead of time to give to the party, so maybe that situation could rectify itself. Perhaps it's even a little bit of foreshadowing. I don't know. You know, there's always you can always give them a MacGuffin oh shit item, like every time they die. Um, but I've also had your character dies, he dies. Now, for the most part, with role playing, I think that in role playing, if you do something that your character knows that your character shouldn't do, and you do it anyway, and it's clearly a dumb move, and you know it's a dumb move, and you do it anyway, like at a Brady said, at a laziness. And I've had this happen to me in game. I've seen it. And I've seen a character in Burnt Offerings basically know that a bridge was weak and rigged to fall and had a lot of weight on it already and decided to walk on it anyway, which led to another character's death. So I let that character come back with a few XPs. I'd mentioned that to Gentleman the Gamer as well. Um, just so he wasn't so far behind. Um, Now, another thing is, I find it easier to kill characters when they're low level. And that's basically when characters should be carrying the most, is when they're low level. Anyway, so it kind of makes sense in that regard. But I think I find it easier because there's less, time involved with them. There's less emotional time, less creativity put into characters. And yeah, so like I find it harder to kill high level characters. Uh, at least I guess I feel a bit more guilty about it, but I guess I'm getting over that as I get older. Anyway, a new thing I want to it's happening, and it's kind of relevant to this conversation that uh, has been happening around my table. Besides the absolute ridiculous that happens around this is something I'm just going to mention real quick because I've been meaning to in other videos. So here's something that's been happening around my table. Characters have been tweeting when stuff happens. Oh, players have been tweeting, not characters. I'm sorry. So they'll get on their phone and be like, "I just split an orc in half. Uh, just filled my will save and now I'm cursed." On their Twitter accounts, or whatever. I just thought that was ridiculous. Anyway, this new thing that's happening is I've had like 16 players come in and out of the game in the last couple campaigns. Like I had a short campaign that I kind of cut short just because I didn't really have the world developed enough, and so I just like, you know what, I'm not comfortable to go on further. Let's just put this one on the back burner, and then maybe we'll come back to it sometime when I have a little bit more, and we'll just run a publish module for now. And so in that time, since I took like a year off from playing recently, so in that time, in the last few months, maybe 6 months or so, uh, I've had like 16 new players. Now, I've always had a lot of new players. I've always taught a lot of new players. Um, and I have like a core of like uh, 8 dudes who always play with me, but half of them aren't in the area right now. And so what's been happening now is people have been taking, if somebody shows up 1 week and they made a character and then they don't show up the next week and somebody else wants to play, I just let them play that guy's character. And I was thinking that in this argument, or this conversation, I would maybe let a dead character play one of these, other player characters that's getting passed around. I think there's like currently 3 or 4 player characters that like kind of don't show up half the time, or have only showed up a couple times, and so who are like between like second and like fifth level, and they've gotten passed around quite a few times, you know, between different uh, one-time players or whatever. Somebody's girlfriend shows up, and here's a here's a player to play. Um, you know, so I would probably entertain that option in this current campaign. Let them play an NPC for the rest of the night. Like I know Chris was saying, like you know, your character could steal you haven't seen your friends, and you know maybe you drove to, I don't know, Texas to go play, and now you're dead. Yeah, it kind of does suck. But a lot of my players always have back burner characters. They're always talking about their back burner character, which is like a build they have in the back of their mind, or you know, some role playing thing they want to do in the back of their mind, and I just think that's interesting as well. Um, so, like I said, I like I've been on every side of this fence. You know, like I've you know, I've run them raw and let them die in the middle of a great story. I've kind of like held on to them a little bit and maybe adjusticated the rules, or you know, pre-planned my adventures a little bit more. That's big, because pre-planning your adventures, it's really big, because you can just look at, like, you know, what would I do if I was the characters versus this challenge? What would this character do? You know, you could just see it, and you know whether it's going to take place, and so you already know how you're going to rule on most stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, characters are always going to surprise you, but for the most part, you know when you're putting a challenge in front of your players that could possibly kill them. So that's something that you got to really consider, like when to present that challenge. Anyway, yeah, that's how I feel about it. This is really a thin line to walk. The story has to continue, but it can't continue for free, so it's got to be lethal, and that's how I feel. And I tend to like to put my characters in heroic spots, but they die, I guess. I don't know. Um, it's just a game, I guess. All right, guys. Thanks for listening to me blab on. Oh, and I'll be going to GasCon this weekend. Hopefully, if I survived 2 more days here. Feeling good so far. Girlfriend's been sick. I'm fine. And I guess I'll be seeing Mr. Samwise 7 RPG out there, and should be a blast. I'm looking forward to it. And Ed, I'll have all my information with the camera. Actually, I just got it. It's over there. But I'll do another video and tell you what it is. And so I want to thank Ed Healy again for hooking me up with the press pass and the opportunity to get some interviews for Gamerati. If you haven't subscribed to Gamerati, I recommend you go check out my subscription list, and go check out I Am the Gamerati's channel. And if you want to do a video for Gamerati yourself, go to gamerati.com and check it out and send your video there. Peace. Thanks, y'all.